So I, female 34, have been married to my husband Daniel, male 37, for 4 years now. We met at a charity event for homeless animals where they were playing 90s alt rock, and we bonded over Nirvana and Pearl Jam. He's an architect and I work in marketing at a company that doesn't appreciate me. I just got passed over for a promotion I deserved last month, but that's another story. Anyways, before me, Daniel was married to Catherine, female 36, for 6 years. She left him for a rich businessman named Jason, male 40, when Daniel's architecture firm was struggling during the economic downturn. The company had to let go of half their staff, and Daniel was working crazy hours, and she just bailed. Found a more financially stable guy. Daniel was really upset when she left. His best friend told me once that Daniel didn't leave his apartment for 2 weeks after she moved out. I try not to think about it, but sometimes it's hard not to feel like I'm the second choice. We're happy, at least I thought we were, and we have a cute fixer-upper that we've been slowly renovating. We have 2 rescue dogs, Cooper, who's a lab mix, and Molly, who's a little terrier with health problems that costs us a fortune in vet bills, but we love her. Last Tuesday night, during a heavy rainstorm, we were watching Stranger Things when someone started banging on our door around 9 p.m. Daniel answered it, and I heard him gasp. I went to the door and saw Catherine standing there looking like a mess. Mascara running down her face, expensive clothes soaked, hair wet. She told us Jason left her, changed the locks on their house, emptied their bank accounts, and she had nowhere to go. Daniel immediately started taking care of her. He brought her inside, sat her down on our couch, and started making her tea and getting towels. I just stood there watching this happen. I mean, what was I supposed to do? So I offered our guest bedroom for just a few nights until she figured things out. I was trying to be compassionate and mature, but I had a bad feeling that I ignored because I didn't want to seem jealous. Then the awful week started. Catherine constantly brought up her and Daniel's marriage. At dinner, she'd mentioned places they went for their anniversary. She called him at midnight because she was having a panic attack and needed to talk. She kept mentioning intimate details about their past relationship. Once she reminded him about how he used to give her foot rubs after work while I was sitting right there. The weird part was that she only seemed to cry when Daniel was around. When it was just us, she was totally composed and would scroll through her phone or make comments about our house. Things like how Daniel always wanted different countertops when they were planning their dream home, or how our paint color was interesting. She forgot to pack enough clothes, so she kept borrowing my stuff even though she's smaller than me, so everything looked better on her. And she kept referring to Daniel's parents as mom and dad and talking about family gatherings I wasn't part of. After about 5 days, I was losing my mind, but trying to be patient. Then yesterday, everything changed. Catherine was taking a shower and her phone kept buzzing. I glanced over and saw texts from Jason with the words, "Did they buy the story?" I know I shouldn't have looked at someone else's phone. I know, but something snapped in me and I picked it up. There were messages asking, "How's the plan going?" and "How much longer until he leaves her?" and "Did you wear that blue dress? He always loved that one." My hands were shaking. I took screenshots and sent them to my own phone as evidence. Then I put her phone back and tried to act normal when she came out of the bathroom. Later, when Daniel was working late, I asked Catherine how the divorce proceedings were going. She started telling me about lawyers and assets and how Jason was trying to screw her over. I let her talk for a few minutes and then showed her the screenshots and asked what the real story was. Her face changed instantly. After trying to deny it, she admitted she wasn't really separated from Jason. They were having some problems, but she mainly came to see if she could win Daniel back because she made a mistake leaving him and realized that money isn't everything in a marriage. I lost it, completely lost it. I told her she was a manipulative liar and had 1 hour to get her stuff and leave, or I was calling the police. She tried to argue that she should wait for Daniel, but I refused. I blocked her number, helped her pack, and watched her call an Uber. When Daniel got home, I told him everything and showed him the screenshots. He seemed shocked and kept apologizing. But after that, he got really quiet. Like, really quiet. I can tell he's holding something back. He went to bed early saying he had a headache, but I could hear him up at 2 a.m. I'm worried about what this means for our marriage. Did I overreact by kicking her out before Daniel got home? Is he mad at me? Or worse, does part of him wish she had stayed? Does Does he still have feelings for her? I don't know what to do. Any advice would be really appreciated. Edit. I didn't expect this to blow up overnight. To answer some common questions. 1. No, Daniel has never given me any reason to doubt his loyalty before this. 2. Several people asked about my job. Yes, I'm looking for new opportunities after being passed over for that promotion. My boss gave it to his golf buddy who's been there half as long as me. 3. For those asking about Daniel's parents, they've always been polite to me, but not as warm as they were with Catherine. They still have pictures of her on their mantle from family vacations. 4. And yes, I realize I shouldn't have gone through her phone. I'm not proud of it, but honestly, what would you have done? The preview literally said, did they buy the story? Now for the first update. It's been a week since I kicked Catherine out, and things at home have been weird. Like really weird. Daniel has been super distant and keeps saying it's because he's stressed about some big project at work. But I'm not stupid. I can tell something else is going on. He's barely looking at me during dinner and keeps going to bed early, claiming he has headaches. But then I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and he's just sitting in the living room scrolling through his phone in the dark. It's freaking me out. I've been stress cleaning like a maniac, trying to get rid of all traces of Catherine from our guest room. I even flipped the mattress and washed the sheets twice because the thought of her sleeping there makes my skin crawl. And guess what? I found, tucked between the bed frame and wall, one of her stupidly expensive diamond earrings that she accidentally left behind. I'm 100% sure she did it on purpose to have an excuse to come back. I put it in an envelope in my drawer because I don't know what to do with it yet. Even our dogs can tell something's wrong. Cooper, our older lab mix, has been following me everywhere and whining whenever I leave a room. He's never been clingy like this before. Molly doesn't seem to notice anything because she's too busy trying to eat socks, but Cooper definitely knows something's up. So after almost a week of this awkward silence between us, Daniel finally told me something last night during dinner. I was just pushing pasta around my plate, haven't had much appetite lately, when he suddenly blurted out that Catherine had tried to kiss him one afternoon while I was at work. He said he pushed her away and told her it was inappropriate, but then he never mentioned it to me. His excuse: he didn't want to upset me and thought Catherine would be gone soon anyway, so it wasn't worth causing problems. Are you kidding me? Not worth mentioning that your ex-wife tried to make a move on you in our house. But wait, it gets worse. He also admitted that Catherine has been contacting him through his work email for the past few days. Apparently, she's claiming that I completely misunderstood the situation with the texts from Jason. She told Daniel they were planning a surprise party for a mutual friend, and that's what the messages were about. Such an obvious lie, I feel so betrayed. Not just by Catherine, obviously, but by Daniel too. Like, why wouldn't he tell me about the kiss right away? And why is he even reading her emails instead of blocking her? Part of me is terrified that he still has feelings for her. I mean, they were together for 8 years total and married for 6 of those. That's a long time. And yes, I know what some of you are going to say. I should completely trust my husband. And I do. I think I do. I don't know anymore. So, I did something I'm not proud of. After Daniel went to sleep last night, I checked his work email on his laptop. I know it's wrong. I've never snooped before in my life, and I felt gross doing it, but I was desperate to know what she's been saying to him. There were like 6 emails from her. Most were begging him to hear her side and saying I was unstable and jealous. What the frick? But there was also stuff about their past together and how they never got proper closure, and how she still thinks about what might have been. I couldn't sleep at all after reading those. I just laid there staring at the ceiling while Daniel snored next to me, completely unaware that I was having a meltdown. Then yesterday, my best friend Julia called to tell me that Catherine has been spreading lies about what happened. Apparently, she's telling people that I overreacted to a joke and cruelly threw her out when she had nowhere to go. Julia heard it from some girl in her spin class who knows Catherine through a book club or something. Side note, Julia has always hated Catherine. She used to call her Medusa in designer clothes after they met at a holiday party years ago. Julia saw through her fake nice act immediately. As if all that wasn't enough, Daniel's parents called him yesterday. I only heard his side of the conversation, but I could tell they were asking about Catherine. When he hung up, he admitted they were concerned about her and thought maybe I had been a bit harsh, given her situation. His parents have always been polite to me, but never warm, you know. They still have pictures of Catherine on their mantle from family vacations they took together. Sometimes I feel like they're just tolerating me because I'm not her. They've known her since she was in college with Daniel, so that's like 15 plus years. But the really big revelation came last night. We were arguing about the whole situation, and Daniel finally told me something he'd never mentioned before. Before their marriage ended, he and Catherine had been trying to have a baby for years without success. I was completely blindsided. We've talked about having kids someday, but he never mentioned they had fertility issues. How could he keep something that huge from me? We had a huge argument about it. I asked why he never told me about trying to have a baby with Catherine, and he said he didn't think it was relevant to our relationship. When I pointed out we'd talked about having kids ourselves, he admitted he wasn't ready to talk about it because it was a really hard time for him. I asked if he'd been deliberately putting off starting a family with me, and he confessed he was afraid of going through that disappointment again. I asked if he was still in love with her, and while he denied it, he admitted feeling guilty about failing her because they both wanted kids badly. When I told him it sounds like he's still stuck in his past relationship, he said he was just trying to be compassionate to someone who's hurting. He told me Catherine's new husband, Jason, has been pressuring her for children, and she either found out or always knew she has fertility issues. Apparently, she came to Daniel hoping he would leave me and give her the family they were supposed to have. Maybe through adoption or something. Jason won't agree to. I feel so inadequate right now. Like, would Daniel have stayed with Catherine if she could have had children? Am I just the consolation prize because his first choice didn't work out? I couldn't sleep at all last night. I kept thinking about everything and wondering if our whole marriage has been built on lies. Daniel says he loves me, but how can I believe that when he keeps these huge secrets? And then this morning, I found something that really upset me. While Daniel was in the shower, I checked his work email again. I know, and saw Catherine had sent him an ultrasound photo with the message, "I wanted to share this with you first, the miracle we always hoped for." I don't even know what to think anymore. Is she actually pregnant? Is it somehow Daniel's? They've been divorced for years, so that doesn't make sense, but my brain is going to all these dark places. Or is this just another manipulation tactic? I'm at my desk at work right now typing this and trying not to have a complete breakdown in front of my coworkers. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to believe. I feel like my whole world is falling apart. Edit. So many people are asking if I confronted Daniel about the ultrasound photo yet. No, I haven't. He left for work before I saw it, and I'm not sure I can have that conversation over text. I'm planning to talk to him tonight when we're both home. Edit 2. To the people suggesting I reach out to Jason directly, I've thought about it, but wouldn't that be crossing a line? I mean, I barely know the guy, and this is all so personal. But maybe you're right that he deserves to know what's happening too. Edit 3. A lot of you are asking about Daniel's reaction when I kicked Catherine out. He seemed shocked when I showed him the screenshots, but then got really quiet. He didn't defend her exactly, but he also didn't seem as angry as I expected. That should have been my first clue something was off. Edit 4. For those wondering about Catherine's fertility issues, I don't know the specifics. Daniel just said they tried for years without success, and it put a huge strain on their marriage. He never mentioned seeing specialists or getting diagnosed with anything specific. And no, we've never had that conversation about our own potential fertility. I just assumed when the time was right, we'd start trying. Now I don't know what to think. Now for the second update. So it's been about 3 weeks since my last post, and honestly, I'm still processing everything that happened. After finding that ultrasound photo Catherine sent to Daniel, I basically had a complete meltdown. I didn't sleep at all that night. I kept thinking of all the horrible scenarios. By 6 a.m., I was Googling divorce lawyers. Yeah, I went there. And by 7 a.m., I called in sick to work for the first time in like 3 years. My boss was actually surprisingly understanding. I mean, I probably sounded like a complete mess on the phone. I was crying and couldn't even finish sentences. He just said, "Take the week if you need it," which was weird because he's usually a total jerk. Still bitter about that promotion thing. Anyway, I packed an overnight bag while Daniel was in the shower and left before he could even get dressed. I just couldn't look at him without falling apart. I did leave a note saying I needed space to think and would be staying with Julia for a few days. Left the dogs with him because Molly needs her medication at specific times, and I didn't want to mess up her schedule, even though I was basically having a nervous breakdown. Julia immediately went into protection mode. She's always been Team Summer and never liked Catherine. She kept saying stuff like, "I knew that woman was trouble," and "Daniel is being a complete idiot if he's falling for her manipulation again." Honestly, it was exactly what I needed to hear after feeling like I was losing my mind. I spent 2 days just crying on Julia's couch, eating ice cream for dinner, and ignoring Daniel's texts and calls. He sent like 20 messages the first day, ranging from confused to worried to angry to begging. Part of me felt bad for ghosting him, but another part was like, he kept huge secrets from me, so he can deal with radio silence for a couple days. After some serious pep talks from Julia, and maybe a little too much wine, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I'm usually the type to avoid confrontation, but something in me just snapped. I decided to contact Jason directly. This was probably crossing some kind of line, but honestly, I was done with being nice and polite while Catherine destroyed my marriage. I found Jason's business contact info online, and I sent him an email explaining everything. Catherine showing up at our door, claiming he'd kicked her out, the manipulative texts I found, and finally the ultrasound photo she sent Daniel. I was shaking so hard typing that email that I had to fix like a million typos before sending it. I even took screenshots of the ultrasound email to attach as proof. Jason responded within like 30 minutes asking if we could meet for coffee the next day. I was honestly shocked he wanted to meet in person rather than just dismiss me as some crazy woman. So the next morning, I met Jason at this coffee shop downtown. I was so nervous, I got there 20 minutes early and just sat there sweating and overthinking everything. I almost left twice before he showed up. Jason was not what I expected. From the way Catherine described him when she was pretending to be left by him, I expected some cold, calculating businessman type, but he was actually really normal. Like, he showed up in jeans and a polo shirt, looked exhausted, and immediately ordered the largest coffee they had. Once we started talking, everything about Catherine's story completely fell apart. Jason said they never separated. She told him she was going to visit her sister for a week and needed some space to think about their marriage. He was confused but didn't argue because they had been fighting about starting a family. The part about him changing locks and emptying bank accounts, complete fiction. Although he did notice she had withdrawn like $5,000 from their joint savings before she left, which now made sense if she was planning this whole scheme. But the really shocking part, that ultrasound photo she sent Daniel was actually from Catherine's sister, who's currently 5 months pregnant. Catherine had been using her sister's ultrasound to manipulate both men, telling Jason it was a reason for them to keep trying for a baby, and implying to Daniel it might be his miracle child. Who does that? I couldn't believe it. This was way worse than I thought. Jason seemed just as surprised as me. We ended up talking for almost 3 hours, comparing notes and realizing how thoroughly Catherine had played both households. Jason even showed me texts from Catherine during the exact time she was staying with us, telling him she was having good sister time and thinking about their future together. It was scary seeing how easily she could lie. After meeting with Jason, I felt this weird mix of relief, disgust, and honestly, pity for both Jason and Catherine. Like, she must have serious issues to do something this calculated. But mostly I felt angry. So freaking angry. I decided it was time to confront Daniel with everything I'd learned. I made copies of all my email exchanges with Jason and the evidence he'd shared with me. I even wrote down talking points because I was afraid I'd get too emotional and forget important details. When I finally went home after 4 days at Julia's, Daniel looked both relieved and terrified to see me. Cooper nearly knocked me over with excitement, but Daniel just stood there staring at the folder in my hands. I asked Daniel if he'd been in contact with Catherine since our fight. He admitted she called his office twice, but he didn't pick up. I put all the evidence on the table and explained my meeting with Jason. Daniel's face went from confusion to shock as he read through everything. When he got to the part about the ultrasound being Catherine's sister's pregnancy, he literally collapsed into a chair. He just sat there with his head in his hands for what felt like forever. Then he looked up with actual tears in his eyes and said he couldn't believe she would use her sister's pregnancy like this. I asked if he now saw how manipulative Catherine had been, and he just nodded, looking completely crushed. What came next was probably the most honest conversation we've ever had. Daniel admitted that part of him had wanted to believe Catherine needed him. He said it fed his ego in a way he hadn't realized he was missing. He confessed he'd felt like a failure when their marriage ended, not just because of the fertility issues, but because he couldn't fix their problems or make her happy. He also admitted he still carried guilt about their failed attempts to have children. Apparently, they had tried for almost 4 years with multiple rounds of tests and treatments before Catherine left him for Jason. He'd never told me any of this before, not a single word about treatments or how devastated he was. I was hurt, so incredibly hurt that he kept this from me. I told him I understood that infertility is traumatic, but hiding such a huge part of his past made me feel like our entire relationship was built on lies. How could I trust anything he said now? We ended up talking until like 3 a.m., both of us crying at different points, both of us saying things we probably should have said years ago. It was exhausting and painful, but also necessary. The next day, we both called in sick again and agreed we needed professional help. We found a marriage counselor who could see us that week, and we've been going twice a week since then. Through therapy, we've realized Catherine's behavior probably came from her feelings about their failed attempts to have children. Doesn't excuse her manipulation at all, but helps explain why she targeted Daniel specifically rather than just trying to work things out with Jason. I've also started to understand my own feelings about being the second wife and how that affected my reactions. I've been afraid of not measuring up to Catherine from day one, which made me more vulnerable to her mind games too. Daniel wrote Catherine a firm email ending their relationship and telling her not to contact him again. He made it clear they would never be getting back together and that any further contact would be considered harassment. Jason told us later that he filed for separation after discovering Catherine's deception. I actually feel bad for both of them, despite everything. Fertility struggles are incredibly painful, and I think Catherine just couldn't handle it. But wait, there's more. About a week into our counseling, Daniel asked me to sit down for an important conversation. My heart immediately dropped. I was terrified there was more Catherine stuff I didn't know about. But instead, Daniel told me he'd been offered a position heading up a new architectural project. I started to congratulate him, but then noticed how serious he looked. Turns out, it's a 2-year project in another city, several states away. When I asked if he was considering taking it, he said he already accepted it, but only if I'd come with him. I was shocked, like mouth hanging open, shocked he had made this huge life decision without even mentioning it to me. After everything we'd just been through with communication problems, he explained that the opportunity actually came up months ago, but he was afraid to mention it because he didn't want to uproot my life and make me leave my job, the one that just passed me over for promotion, remember? He admitted the whole Catherine situation made him realize we needed a fresh start, away from past relationships and painful memories. Part of me was furious he'd made this decision without me, but another part, honestly, it sounded perfect, a clean slate. Away from Catherine, away from his parents with their Catherine shrine on the mantle, away from all these painful memories. We took it to our therapist, who actually thought it might be healthy for us to have a fresh start somewhere new. We're keeping our house here and renting it out rather than selling it, just in case, and I've already started job hunting in the new city. We move in 6 weeks. I'm terrified and excited and still processing everything, but it feels like the right decision. Oh, and one last update. Jason called last week to let us know Catherine checked into some kind of therapy retreat after both men cut ties with her. Despite everything, I truly hope she finds peace. What she did was terrible, but I can't imagine the pain she must be in to act that way. Thank you again to everyone who commented on my previous posts. Your advice and support honestly helped save my marriage. We're not perfect, obviously, but we're working together toward a stronger future built on honesty and actual communication. I've learned that even good relationships need maintenance and boundaries, and sometimes it takes a crisis to realize what's truly important. Edit. So many people are asking if I'm worried about leaving my job. Honestly, no. My company has treated me like garbage, and I've been wanting to leave for ages. I already have 2 interviews lined up in the new city for marketing positions that would actually value my experience. Edit 2. For those asking about the dogs, yes, of course, they're coming with us. What kind of monster do you think I am? Cooper loves car rides, so he'll probably enjoy the road trip. Molly, well, we might need to get some doggy anxiety meds from the vet for her. Edit 3. Several people have asked what Daniel's parents said about the move. They're not thrilled. His mom cried, and his dad made some comment about Daniel running away from his problems. We've decided to limit contact with them for a while. Edit 4. To the person who asked if we're planning to have kids, wow, way to hit the most sensitive topic possible. But yes, we've started having honest conversations about what we both want. Daniel admitted he's scared of going through that pain again, and I admitted I'm not sure if I'm ready yet. We're taking it one step at a time. Edit 5. Lots of you are asking if Catherine ever tried to contact us again after Daniel's email. She sent one final message apologizing and saying she was seeking help. We didn't respond. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, and that's okay.